It's Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Welcome to Disruptive FM, where business and culture collide. Sponsored by Microsoft and Branding Strategy Insider. With your host, Jeffrey Colon.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Disruptive FM, episode 24 for the week ending Friday, the 26th of October, 2018. Recording this week from the Pacific Northwest of the United States. I'm Jeffrey Colon, your host for the next 15 minutes, or thereabout, on the latest in marketing, tech, media, and popular culture. We call it the culture of business. Bring the noise.
Here are this week's trending topics. Hold the line.
Smartphones could die. You laugh, but things really work in cycles. Trend spotters will always tell you that they have some crazy futuristic visions. But what they are really good at is seeing the past, noting the present, and then identifying how it creates the future. Nokia used to be a massive mobile phone brand. It owned the world, but then it became nothing as feature phones gave way to smartphones. Smartphones have been the trend for the past decade. But now in our desire to move away from them and digitally detox, it appears that the feature phone Nokia popularized are hot again. And this brings us to the Nokia Snake. Yes, the phone made famous in the Matrix films has been reissued by the brand because who doesn't want a feature phone? Maybe smartphones make us dumb. Or just maybe, retro novelty is part of our psyche? Well, when it comes to all things novelty, there is only one person we like to speak to. Yup, our contributor at large, Cheryl Barbie. Cheryl trend spotted this first, and it got me thinking about this question that I know she will answer. Why is this retro novelty movement toward a phone that only makes calls perfect for where we are right now in Attention Economics 2018?
Well, it's interesting because I almost might say it sucks more in order to suck less. So the user experience sucks more in order to get us to suck less time out of our lives. The Nokia move is very interesting. So they're reissuing their phone made popular, like you said, in the 90s in the Matrix films, partially to capitalize on nostalgia marketing. So that is something we're seeing from, I think, particularly brands that have kind of lost favor because they're seen as old-fashioned. We're seeing some of them find new opportunity by actually embracing that and saying, okay, fine, we're from the past, but we're going to reinvent some of our past history and kind of capitalize on that nostalgia for it. So you see brands like Kodak, for instance, who recently made an unusual partnership with Forever 21 and released their own line of Kodak-themed clothing to try and be relevant to new audience. So Nokia is trying to do something similar. Nintendo, of course, released their original system in a mini form recently for all of those kids about my age who are no longer kids who grew up with that. So I think part of what Nokia is doing is trying to find market opportunity through nostalgia. I think part of what they're trying to do is capitalize on the other trend of digital detoxing. So people feeling a bit overwhelmed or almost addicted or truly addicted to their smartphones and wanting less and wanting to just go back to having a phone again or a device that does a couple of simple things. They can turn on some of the, they can turn on Wi-Fi and use internet services, but really it's about going back to the basics in order to declutter our lives and get us a little bit less connected to the things that disconnect us. So I think Nokia is going a niche route in both areas for both the disconnection from our addictions and the nostalgia marketing, probably because going niche and focused like that usually builds a little bit more loyalty, brand affinity than trying to go broad in a market where they're really such a challenger. They're behind the eight ball. So that's kind of my analysis. I think it's interesting. It won't get them out of the hole in terms of being a challenger, but it could give them some new revenue in the short term.
Cheryl Barbie, contributor at large for Disruptive FM and Senior Vice President of Strategy at FCB Global in Chicago, on retro mobile trends and how they could break our smartphone addictions. I'll make your jig vibrate like a Nokia. Thanks again, Cheryl.
Trending topics on DFM. Soundagram.
Online music streaming service SoundCloud has officially announced a partnership with Instagram, enabling its users to share music from its service directly on the social media platform. We talk a ton about blurring the lines in business, and this is one of those scenarios. This new feature allows users to share tracks to Instagram stories. The featured tracks that artists aim to promote are shared as a link that appears within stories. And to actually listen to the audio, users must click the Play on SoundCloud link, which will then redirect you to the SoundCloud app in order to listen. This is another huge area and win for both platforms, as SoundCloud is a major player for independent artists, and Stories was lacking a music integration feature. This now makes Instagram Stories the dominant platform when it comes to promoting new music. But could it swing the pendulum away from platforms like YouTube? That remains to be seen or heard.
Trending topics on DFM. App fraud.
App metrics firm AppsFlyer recently noted that between $700 million and $800 million was stolen from mobile apps alone in the first quarter of this year. That's a 30% increase over the previous year in ad fraud. The latest analysis of in-app fraud found that 23% of all ad impressions in mobile apps are in some way fraudulent. The firm Juniper Research estimates $19 billion will be stolen this year by digital ad fraudsters. But others believe the actual figure could be 3 times that. These schemes focus on Android apps is simple but lucrative. Firms take over an app by saying they have tons of ad traffic. The apps, most of them not lucrative, enter into a revenue share deal where these fraudulent networks start serving ads to their users. The ads, however, are a front. While the ads and the buyers are real, the clicks generated are not, because by being in the app, it appears they are legitimate. Experts say a scheme like this targets Android in part because of its huge user base and because the Google Play Store has a less rigorous app review process than Apple's App Store. Android apps are bought and sold, injected with malicious code, repurposed without users or Google's knowledge, or, as in this case, turned into engines of fraud. It's good to note to our listeners that Apple's App Store is by no means immune to malicious attacks. A security researcher recently revealed that a top paid app is secretly transmitting user browsing data to a server in China. Google said last year it took down more than 700,000 apps that were in violation. It also emphasized its commitment to fighting ad fraud by implementing standards such as ads.txt. The ad networks and ad exchanges used by the scheme include major players such as those operated by Google, which means these companies earned commission if ads shown to bots went undetected. There is no evidence Google or any of the other companies knew the inventory was fraudulent. After being provided with a list of the apps and websites connected to the scheme, Google investigated and found that dozens of the apps used its mobile advertising network. This then leads to the question on programmatic ad buying, which is prevalent in the digital ad world. Are we simply being scammed all the way to the bank, but happy that the impression and click figures are high? Again, we need to rethink the equality between quantity and quality and realize there are a lot of people getting rich off these schemes being paid for by big brands. Until this is cleaned up, should brands consider a digital detox too?
You're listening to Disruptive FM with Jeffrey Colon.
Now, here comes the music. Here comes the music. Here comes the music.
It's Disruptive FM, culture of business. I'm your host, Jeffrey Colon. In the background, that's new music from Wizard of Chill, with a track called Chill With You. Out now on Little Angel Records. Connect with us on Instagram or Twitter at Disruptive FM. Connect with me personally on Instagram or Twitter at DJ Jeffy. That's at DJGEOFFE. Disruptive FM is brought to you by Microsoft and Branding Strategy Insider. For more in-depth analysis, check out Microsoft.com/stories and BrandingStrategyInsider.com. Also, create better video with iOgrapher. iOgrapher makes accessories for your mobile devices to help you make professional videos. Learn more about all the products we use here to produce our videos at iOgrapher.com.
And now, DFM presents... Do you even read, bro?
It's called reading. Top to bottom, left to right. Group words together as a sentence.
Book reviews for disruptive minds.
I'm reading this book called Temp: How American Work, American Business, and the American Dream Became Temporary. This is such a great book from Louis Hyman. He's a professor at Cornell University. The real threat to instability isn't Uber or mobile apps, but management consulting firms who push FOMO-spirited white papers on disruption and agile business models while never disrupting what keeps them ticking. Yes, a fervent belief in the logic of the market. This short-term thinking is what has led to performance return on investment marketing, immediate impact strategy, stack ranking, and other BS eroding what could probably be a unique business world. Eye-opening, liberating, and controversial. This book is a blueprint for those who don't want to operate business in the future like it is conducted presently. A book that encourages us to imagine a future that is inclusive and humane, rather than sentimentalize a past that never truly was. Okay, time now to take a look at some simmering news items we have our eye on. It's a segment we call On the Radar.
Here's what's on our radar. Number 1.
Google has abandoned plans to build a campus in Berlin, Germany. The tech giant was looking to set up a hub for startups, but announced recently it will not proceed after facing opposition from local campaigners. While some said they were opposed to Google's evil practices, others were fighting the gentrification of Berlin, where average residential property prices rose by almost 20% last year. The site, which would have been Google's 7th in the world, will instead go to 2 local humanitarian groups. Tech used to be welcomed in big cities, but many cities were quick to say they didn't want Amazon moving to their city after a report showed how much Seattle changed with traffic congestion and lack of quality housing issues.
Number 2.
Imagine a successful business that serves a steady stream of food and makes a tidy profit, but not a single person has ever shown up to eat. Welcome to Uber's empire of secret restaurants. The company identifies areas where there's demand for dishes, but a lack of outlets. Then it persuades chefs and restaurateurs to offer menus that are only available via its app, and drivers deliver them straight to customers. Uber has quietly begun building a clandestine restaurant network to feed demand for its booming Uber Eats app. If, for instance, the data perceives there is untapped demand for burgers in an area, Uber will approach a restaurant in the neighborhood and ask them to cook burgers exclusively for Uber Eats. Uber then sets up a new restaurant name for the secret kitchen only accessible via its app.
Number 3.
Spotify is giving up-and-coming artists a major publicity boost. Several months ago, the popular streaming service announced a beta feature that allowed musicians and labels to submit new music for playlist consideration, a move that could potentially expose a rising artist to millions of Spotify users. The company announced this past week that the direct-to-artist tool had officially launched following a successful beta run. The platform claims the new feature garnered more than 67,000 artist submissions, 10,000 of which received editorial playlist placement for the very first time. One such act was Brazilian-born singer Gustavo Bertoni, whose song Be Here Now was selected to appear on the Acoustic Morning and Fresh Folk playlists. According to Spotify, Bertoni's introduction to its editorial content resulted in a significant boost to his streaming numbers, going from 7,000 monthly streams to 617,000. This is the new radio breaking an artist. Different platform, same idea. Then again, as we know on DFM, everything is a remix. All right, that will wrap our 24th episode of DFM. Big thanks to our guest, contributor at large, Cheryl Barbie, for joining us. You can connect with us by following me on Twitter or Instagram at DJ Jeffy. Follow Disruptive FM on Twitter or Instagram at Disruptive FM. And you can read more in-depth content via our 3 sponsors, Microsoft.com/stories, BrandingStrategyInsider.com, and iographer.com. Next week, Christine Lagorio Chafkin, author of the book We Are the Nerds, The Birth and Tumultuous Life of Reddit, the Internet's Culture Laboratory. She's going to join us to predict where the future of the Internet could be going based off where it is currently. Until then, for everyone here at DFM, thanks for tuning in. I'm Jeffrey Colon, and we'll catch you later.
You've been listening to Disruptive FM with Microsoft Communications designer Jeffrey Colon. All thoughts are his own. Disruptive FM is produced in Los Angeles by Feeler Media.